This is not a test. Stay calm in an orderly fashion. Make your way to the lifeboats.
Mayday, the ship is sinking.
All right, and welcome back to our Wednesday podcast, which is a meditation. We're going to talk a little bit about, just some deeper thoughts pertaining to recovery, what they mean to us, what we're thinking about them. We're going to give our opinion a little bit. Might talk a little bit about the politics of recovery. Might talk a little bit about the day-to-day functioning. So with that in mind, how you doing, Christian?
We're doing good, man. Everything is going pretty good. Life is grooving along slowly but surely. Just really excited to see what's happening in some of the recovery community. Really excited to see, that some meetings are being in person. I don't know if you saw this, the news over the last couple of days, but they're slowly changing COVID policy. So people who've been vaccinated don't necessarily have to quarantine if they've been exposed, which is a really interesting development, it's good in the sense of as we are slowly moving down, getting back into meetings and stuff like that. That's going to be important. Like if somebody does come into a meeting and there's people there that were vaccinated, they don't necessarily have to quarantine because that's going to be a hassle if, one person comes to the meeting, then all of a sudden, the 3 or 4, maybe 10 people that were there have to quarantine for 14 days. Right. Ugh. But things are changing. So that's a pretty good, cool, excited for the next thing, man.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So the topic that's really weighing on me, and I already kind of brought this up to you, is I want to talk about balance.
Like on a beam?
Yeah, exactly. But in life. Balance, I've talked about this in my classes. I've practiced my own recovery. I've talked about it during meetings. Balance has to play such a key role, not only in recovery, but our lives in general, our jobs, our lives, our recovery, our relationships. There's always balance in play because too far to either side is too bad. So I guess I kind of want to touch on the different categories, the different areas where balance really plays in and ways to walk that out, kind of the far sides of both, the extremes on both sides. I was just teaching a class, actually, I think it was Tuesday, or no, it was Wednesday. I was teaching a class, Seeking Safety, and it was on boundaries in relationships. And it was talking about that balance. Like we can either be too distant or we can be too close. There's two sides of the extreme, and we want to be somewhere in the middle. We want to be balanced. And that's where this topic first came up in the last few days. I've been thinking about it is, and by the way, we do record these in advance, so that's why it was a few days ago. But so it's a matter of how important balance is in all these aspects of our life.
Sure. So I couldn't agree more. I love the concept of balance because it is such a difficult thing to get right, even in like late recovery, even in, after being in recovery. I've had more than 6 years in recovery. I still am working with balance sometimes, trying to make sure that I have work, that work is being done while at the same time I'm spending time with my ever expanding family. For those of you who don't know, I had a son a couple of weeks ago, healthy baby boy, Mr. Jonah Man, as we like to call him, but just striking the balance between work and between Wellness INX, Lifeboat, my family being first, obviously, my faith. I'm a lay preacher, so I'm on a ministry team that you're also a part of in a local church. So just a lot, and it's something that's I'm always striving to strike a better angle at. I'm trying to be better at balance. And one of the things that I've noticed, at least in balance, that I think we should at least talk about today is, scheduling, is making time, is sticking to the commitments and stuff like that. But what are your thoughts on balance, man?
Yeah. So I think you hit it on the head there too when you said scheduling, because that's when we're talking about balancing priorities in life, that's probably about the only way to walk that out. Because I'm the same way. I have like 10 different things and I'm balancing all at once and I only got 2 hands. So it gets hard sometimes. But I got my work, I got my responsibilities of like being a grown up, and I have to like clean my house, and I have to take care of stuff, and I have to cook for myself because I don't have a mom who cooks for me anymore. So I mean, there's like there's balancing all this stuff. I have to figure out how to work 40 hours a week, take care of adult responsibilities, keep my house clean, have fun, go to meetings, prioritize my recovery, participate in my faith-based activities, be on this ministry team, record these podcasts. It's like all of that stuff. It takes scheduling. I mean, when we're talking about the aspect of like balancing one's life, like all the different obligations, that there's no other option. I have to figure out, okay, I have to do this from this time to this time, and I still want to do this for myself. So I need to get up early so I can do this before I have to get ready for work. And then I go to work, and then I do this thing. And then I need to check my recovery today. So I'm going to go to a meeting at this time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, it's a balancing. And that's the real world. And I feel like we have a tendency sometimes not as a PRC, because that's exactly what we enforce, but like in our classes, or not our classes, but just in classes in general, when we're talking to people about recovery, we tend to leave out the real responsibilities of living life.
Yes.
Because it's not easy,
No, it's not easy at all. And there's the dream, or the kind of the magical thinking of like, oh, this is what it's going to be. And then there's a reality.
Unicorns.
Yeah, there's the reality, which is like, sometimes it's just a daily struggle. Sometimes you have to wake up and fight every ounce of your being to say like, oh my gosh, it's Wednesday. I gotta go. I have to.
Tell me it's not Friday.
Well, there's I forget who told me this, and I know he didn't come up with it, but I think it's brilliant, because ever since I was told this concept, it resonates me. And that is, if you want to get something done, you must give it to the busiest person in the room, or the person that does not have time to do it. And the reason for that is they're the busiest person in the room for a reason, and they will schedule it into what is going on with them. And I think that resonates so well with balancing, because I'm constantly taking on new projects. For those of you who know me, or for those of you who don't know me, I love new things. I love doing new things. And I'm not one of those guys, like I always have to have, I'm very fortunate that I have a select group of individuals that that are my external voices that talk into my life and say like, don't take that on. It's too much.
Slow down, Christian.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm short list of the things that I am. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm also, a new father. I am a general manager of a company. I sit as chairman of the board of a 3/4 house. I sit on the board of a network center. I'm starting a podcast. I'm also a lay preacher, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And the reason I like starting new things, it's like, I like to be a part of the conversation. If I see something that I like, I generally am like, okay, how do you take that? How do you make it better? And the problem is, that can often lead to non-balance. It can often lead to me tilting to one side in one way of I'm overworking, or me tilting to the other side in the other way of like, I have too much to do in the day and I still have not got it done. And that's the case with this. We're recording this podcast, and it's like, after this podcast, I have to celebrate a birthday. So I have a birthday party. I have to prepare for somebody who's coming into my house to help, take care of the baby for a week. So, a close family member of mine is coming out from Las Vegas, God bless their heart, to help me take care of, my baby boy and give a little bit of respite to my wife for a week, so it's just like a constant, I have things to do today, even after this, but I'm thankful that I get to be a part of it. And it's only because I'm able to strike balance in my life that I'm able to even remotely accomplish this, or else I'd be overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I guess I want to pick on something right there. So
he wants to pick on me.
Yes. So here it is. Now, so I guess it's a matter of, you found a balance, and that is what made this possible for you.
Yes.
That it's not bad. It's a good thing, but because you have balance. So I felt like when we were talking about this earlier, I was like, oh, we probably should give a little caveat. So I said, like, when we're talking to new recoveries, we don't necessarily tell them the reality of what it's going to be like I do with my clients, because that's, like I said, PRCs do that, but it's good. It's like all these extra responsibilities, like when we're in active addiction, at least when I was in active addiction, I did not have any responsibility. And if I did, I did not care about them. Those responsibilities did not matter to me. If I had a job, if I showed up, I showed up. If I didn't show up, I'll just find another job.
Sure.
And it's a matter of like, when that changes and a level of integrity kicks in to where like, now I have these responsibilities, I care about them, I'm going to follow through with them. It's a really, really, really good thing. It's what brings us into more maturity. It's what brings us into our recovery. It's what gives us like, I don't want to relapse because I can't, because I have all this stuff that I have to do. Or not all the stuff I have to do, but all these people who look up to me, who depend on me. And that's a good thing to have. It's an extra added accountability. But if we don't find balance, those things inevitably will constantly lead us back to a spiral of chaos.
Absolutely.
It may not lead to using, but like I know in my life when I did not schedule out my activity and I would like not do anything for myself and I go to work and then I'd do stuff for other people and then I'd just be lazy and I wouldn't progress anything to make my life better. It doesn't lead anywhere good. It leads to like a depressive state at home, and then at work you're just spiraling and everything's crazy, and then you go home and you're like, oh man, at least I'm off and I don't have to do anything, and then your life just stays stagnant.
And you have this constant encroaching sense of doom.
Yeah.
You know, of doom. Like you're like, oh, I don't want to wake up in the morning. Why? Because it's all still gonna be there, and it's probably gonna get worse.
You hear the scary, like the intense, scary music come in, like in the video games, when you know something's gonna happen. But I mean, there has to be a struck balance, but it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like I think I said it last week that I'm happy with the chaos or the busyness that's in my life because I've learned to grow with it.
Sure.
Like now I literally have made a schedule of getting up early. I've made a schedule of practicing self-care in the mornings. I've made a habit of, I do my devotional time in the morning. And I go and I work out a little bit, and then I take a shower, and then I go to work, and then I get off work, and then I record podcast stuff sometimes. And then I go to a meeting. I go to a couple meetings a week. I go to Bible study.
And then he goes and fishes, and nobody can get a hold of him while he's fishing.
Well, sadly, it's not warm enough to fish yet. But when summer comes
when
around,
it does,
if you need me for work, call somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. If from the hours you get him from the hours of 9 to 5, and then after that or before that, you're not getting a hold of
him. If you know what lakes I like to fish at, you might be able to get a hold of me and find me out there. But yeah, I mean, and it's really an awesome thing to have those responsibilities because it forces me to schedule. It forces me to strive for balance. But yeah, it's kind of a live it and then learn it sort of scenario, I guess, because I don't feel like anyone finds balance before things become a little chaotic and they realize, oh, I need to balance this.
Well,
out.
and I think ultimately that balance, because we can tell you, we're telling you right now, you're going to have to strike balance. We're telling you right now, things in your life are going to get overcomplicated, and there's many people in recovery, and this is just the truth. And I'm not saying this is bad. Let me preface it with, this is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
If it works for you, then who am I to upset the apple cart? But there's a lot of people in recovery that don't strive for something. Why? Because to take on too much makes them uncomfortable, or they don't put themselves out there. They don't want to do what they want to do. They don't try to fulfill their purpose, or they don't try to drive towards something greater for themselves. It could be education. It could be that promotion at work. It could be a multitude of things, a podcast. It could be a lot of things, but they don't strive for that. Why? Because they feel like the moment that they take that on, life will become too stressful and they won't be able to strike balance.
Mm-hmm.
I know of uncountable amount of people like that. I've met them time and time again, where it's just like, well, I'm a one day at a time kind of guy, and this is what I do. And they fall into a stagnant sense of decay. And it's not a sense of, I don't want to say decay. That's not a good word.
Because his name.
They find their comfort in that, and they're like, I wake up at the same time, I do the same thing, I go to my meeting, I go and visit mom, I go do this, I go do that, I go do this, and then they go to bed and they wake up and they do the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. Great, groovy, fine.
So I want to interject. So I will say, we've had this conversation before, and we usually see this with people later on in life that get into recovery.
Yes.
So I will argue that we don't see as much, like, I don't know where to put it. Economic, I don't want to say economic growth, but like, we don't see a lot of the, like, going back to college, going and furthering myself in my career. But I will say there's still change and growth, but that happens more on a spiritual level
for older people.
Yeah. When they start to plug in, like when they're going to those meetings, they're taking something out of it. They're starting to unpack that baggage that they've had for years. So there is growth, but not necessarily the same growth we see in other people. So
yeah. And when it comes to younger people, it tends to be like, they are going to start piling things on until it becomes unmanageable. And then they will do one of two things. And there's only one of two things that can happen. And I'm talking, really, there's three things, but the third thing is just, it's intensifies. So life becomes unmanageable. They keep piling things on. They keep piling things on. Things are getting, crazier and crazier and crazier out there. The first thing that they do is go along to get along. So they're going to keep doing that, and they're going to keep piling things on, which eventually leads them to one of two choices, which is everything implodes in on itself. It all comes tumbling down. They leave it stressed, broken, shattered, feeling like a half a person, just a broken human being. Or they take a breath, they take a step back and they say, I need to reorder my life. I need to restructure this. That's not to say that I'm going to stop everything. I'm not. But what I do need to do is get really clear on what are my hours of work? What are my hours of play? What do I like doing? Who do I like being around? Who am I not going to be around? Who am I not going to have conversations with? Do I need to get rid of my Xbox? Why? Because it's taking too much time in my life. Do I need to get rid of my TV? Why? Because every time I'm in the room, I have to either watch sports or watch the news. And maybe that's not a good idea. Do I need to move my TV from my bedroom over to my living room? Why? Because every time I go to bed, I watch it until 1 a.m. and then I wake up at 5 wondering why I'm tired.
Right.
You're like, so there eventually gets to that restructuring point. And I know, at least I've experienced it myself, and I know for a fact it's happened to you.
Huh. Says who?
Says me, the person that helps you through it. And what I can say is maybe this conversation we're having right now can be that conversation that we had, can be that structuring conversation of like, you need to pause. And you need to write everything out in your life if need be. And then you need to get really clear on what are the things that you need in your life? What are the things that you want to do? How are we going to get them accomplished? And what are the things that you're doing now to help get those things accomplished? If you have things on that list that aren't adding to your life, and there's things that may seem trivial that do add to your life. Playing video games, that can add to your life.
Yeah, like if you do it in a healthy, once again, balance. You do it on a healthy level.
Balance.
Right.
But if you don't, and you do it to excess, maybe you need to get rid of it. And you got to be honest with yourself to do that.
Yeah, and that's so it all comes down to two things when we face these situations.
Don't you say balance again?
I'm not. So I will say it at the end. So it comes down to two things when we're looking at all these different problems, like what you're talking about, when we run against that wall. Either A, we expect the problem to fix itself, which will inevitably lead to worsening problems because problems do not fix themselves. Problems, we can't ignore problems.
They don't?
Yeah, I know, right? You have no idea how many times I've had to explain this to people. Like, just because we ignore the problem does not go away. It's still there. It's just bigger now because we let it grow.
And that blows their hair back, doesn't it?
Yeah,
They're like,
right.
profound truths about life.
Okay, so that's one option. Or the other option is we see the problem, we see it progressing, we see it growing, and we decide we have to do something about it. Otherwise, life's going to go bad. And that's kind of the point when we had this conversation. Like you said, we had a conversation where I came to a point where I'd let this problem go, expecting it to fix itself for long enough that I was kind of burnt out. I was burnt out. Yeah, kind of burnt out. I stopped going to meetings, and this was like early COVID. So this is like when everything first started. And I stopped going to meetings. I stopped practicing my self-care because I work from home. I don't care. I don't need to shower today. You know, like I showered every couple days or something. You know, like I'm not gross. I wouldn't like go a week without showering. Not saying that people, yeah. Anyways, controversy.
New topic.
Yeah. So anyways, but so I would like go a couple days without showering. You know, I started lacking on, you know, maybe reading or something like that. I started playing Xbox all the time, you know, and like I wasn't going to any of the things online that I should have been going to as far as like my groups. And I thought my work was going to be enough. And I let that go long enough to where I started feeling my serenity leave me. I didn't relapse, but I definitely felt my serenity leave me. I felt my acceptance leaving. I felt my happiness leaving me in my recovery. And it came to the point where I needed to change something. I decided what needed to change was my job. So I went to my boss, you know, at the time, and we're really good friends. We've been friends for years. And I went to you and we talked about it, you know, and
you heard it here. He acknowledged, I'm the alpha dog. I'm the boss.
I never said that. So anyways, so I went to you and we talked, and it came to a point, once again, we talked about it again. Ego becomes a problem when we will not let people speak into our lives anymore because we think we had it figured out.
Sure.
And the conversation we had was, I know you think you know what the problem is, but you're wrong. I mean, honestly,
I don't know. It wasn't exactly, it was something akin to that.
It wasn't exactly that, but basically the conversation that happened is, why would you make such a big change in your life when everything else in your life seems to be going a little bit crazy right now? And that was very true for where I was at. So the problem solution was, okay, I need to get plugged back into meetings. I sold my Xbox, which I have another Xbox now, but I play it literally. I was just talking to him about this. I haven't had a chance to play it in like weeks, and I usually don't play it on the weekend. So I do it at a healthy level.
Sounds like justification to me, but
you know, whatever I got to tell myself to sleep good
let me be really clear. I'd have an Xbox or a PlayStation. I don't care. And I know there's going to be somebody out there. He doesn't care. The audacity. It's PlayStation or bust. No, I just have a wife that won't let me get one. She's like, no, you're going to play it too much, and you got a child, so that's not going to happen. So,
yeah. So anyways, back to the important stories here. So like now I've found the problem. I found a solution. I decided to stop ignoring the problem, and I found that balance, keyword. So I found that balance in my life of, okay, I work and then I come home and then I take care of myself. I shower before I go to work. I go to work. I mean,
I take care of myself. I shower. Just stops talking.
That's all it takes. But I shower. I started working out. I started doing these things. I started implementing the things that I knew I needed to do. And I started re-implementing my recovery program. And I got really clear of how much I needed on both sides of the scale in order to function properly in my recovery. So, I mean, really, yeah, it comes down to acknowledging the problem. What's going to fix the problem, implementing those things, and finding what is the right amount of each of those things to implement into my life to be okay. Because I like playing video games. That's something I do enjoy. But I don't enjoy playing video games for hours on end because I only have to teach one class that day. And that's all I have to do is get on the computer and teach that class and then not do anything else. That's not okay.
No, it's not. And you're absolutely right. I think the importance is, though, I believe that when you're trying to strike balance in your life, because let's preface it, like we've said many a times, and it's not going to change our answer now just because we're into Meditation Wednesday. We have told this thing to so many people and they do not believe us. And then we tell them to, I mean, it's baffling to me when we tell them like, hey, you need to find a way to strike balance in your life. And then immediately followed up like, I know in me saying that, most of, if not any of you, did not believe what I just said. So I'm going to say it again. You need to find a strike balance in your life. And oftentimes I say, I'm going to say it one more time. You need to find balance in your life. And I said it 3 times so you can't say I didn't say it. Right. And without a doubt, fast forward 6 months, I get half of those people calling me saying, something happened. I need a new job. It's just like, we cannot stress it enough. Balance needs to be found in a couple of different ways, but you need to first find the things that you like doing, find the things that you don't like doing. Now, in those things you don't like doing, are they necessary? Because if they're not necessary, then stop doing it. Right. If they're necessary, i.e. it's a job, need money to pay bills, need money to pay for the car. But here's the thing, even with it, it's like, if you don't like doing it, find a new job. Right. Because are you settling? Are you settling in a place where it's like, I have to have this job? Why? Because I've become accustomed to a certain way of living and I need this job because it's going to pay me more than X amount of money. It's just like, well, what do you want? Do you want to be completely worn out and stressed out every day that you go home and know that you're making a couple extra bucks an hour? Or do you want to feel joy in love and excitement every time you wake up? Like, I had to go to work today. This is awesome. I'm excited. I don't know who you are. So you let that answer, let that answer hang in the air. But the other thing that you need is somebody that's going to talk into your life. Find a trusted ally, find a trusted individual, find a trusted recovery person that's going to be able to, not unlike I did with Hunter, look you dead in the eye and say, you're making choices right now, not based in reality. You're too close to you right now. There's a proverb that it's a parable rather, that I absolutely love. And it's that of the splitting dam. And for those of you who are listening, please use this. And it's simply, there once was a dam that had a crack in it. And down about 5 miles, there was a city. And as soon as they heard there was a crack in it, alarms went off. And thousands upon thousands of people fled the city for the safety of themselves, their homes, their children, all of that. Then there was a city about 2 miles away from it. They heard the dam was cracking. And you know what they did? They said, okay, this is concerning, and we need to keep an eye on this. If the crack goes any further, then we need to make sure that we have an evacuation plan. And then there was a city that was literally 100 feet away from the dam and could see it from the very windows of their house. And they were told, look, there's a crack in the dam. And you know what they said? There's always a crack in the dam. Don't worry about it. That's the mentality of when you're too close to something, sometimes you don't see it as a problem. So when it comes to the things in balance in your life, and you may not be able to see that you're disheveled, you may not be able to see that you haven't stopped, you haven't taken a shower in 3 days. You may intellectually know I haven't taken a shower in 3 days, but until your boy comes up and says like, dude, you stink. When was the last time you took a shower? You know what I mean? Yeah. But maybe that's what it's going to take. Maybe it is going to take somebody saying like, yo, what's going on? Like, you're looking depressed right now.
Yeah. And I will say a lot of the times I think that we realize it, but we don't realize that it's a problem. But I mean, I guess I'll preface what I say by that. So like, if I was to see you and you hadn't showered in a few days, you haven't showered in a few days, and you may be looking messed up. You don't look right. You look like you're depressed. All that stuff more than likely. But I know how big of an issue that is because I've never seen you like that before. Does that make sense? Like
Yes.
you're just justifying it. You can rationalize it. I can't rationalize it. I see you like that. I'm like, what is going on?
Does not compute.
Right. I'm like, that's not you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's an issue there, you know, like when we see a pattern, we can easily identify patterns in other people better than they can identify them themselves.
Yes.
Because yeah, we justify it starts happening slowly to us. But to that person that's seen you in a week, that's like, oh, what just happened? Like, hey, I just saw you last week, and that's not what I saw, you know? So it's like we see it slowly over time. They see it all at once. So there's a pattern recognition that we can't see sometimes because, once again, cognitive dissonance, justification, rationalizations, are things we're great at. So I will say that we're a lot more critical, I think, of other people's patterns as well.
Oh, 100%, 150%. And who, you know, when we're talking about that balance, there's just so much that goes into it because it's easy to talk about it in this, you know, long conversational form of like, you need to strike balance. But the reality is when I decided to start striking balance in my life, you know how long it took me to strike that balance? Yeah, the concept came immediately. To actually carry it out, years. Yeah. I'm still carrying it out. I mean, I still have struggle striking balance in my life.
Still trying to figure out myself.
Yeah, I mean, you can come up with it intellectually. You can intellectualize it until the cows come home. You say like, I need to strike balance. And once again, cognitive dissonance. I need to do this, but it's a Wednesday and that's weird. And I would rather start on a Monday. And you know, you can intellectualize it till the cows come home. But the truth is like balance has to come over time. Rome wasn't built in a day. I love that. I heard it so many times. And for a long time, I was like, that's the stupidest saying in the world.
We're not building a city.
Yeah.
Right now.
Like we're building, it's just my life. No, but I think that people need to recognize that it's like, this didn't happen overnight and it's not going to get better overnight. You need to slowly walk it out.
And I will say some things, like when we're talking about this balance, certain things can make a quick change. Like there are certain things like I can start going to meetings again. That's something that we can fix quickly. But like when we're talking about the grand scheme of things, it does take time. You know, I'm still trying to, like I said, I have a lot of balance in my life, a lot more than I did at that point where we talked, but I still am trying to add more things. I'm still trying to balance certain things out. I'm still trying to decide, okay, maybe I don't need to sit and watch TV for that long because I could be doing this. And that's a lot more productive.
He's just saying that because his eyes started to hurt.
Yeah.
That's why he got blue light glasses. I can't watch TV. Why? Because it makes my left eye twitch too much.
Exactly. But I mean, that's the reality of it is like, there's still always going to be areas where we make slow incremental change to strive to find the perfect fit for us. And that's awesome because we're staying, okay. And I'll say this over and over and over again. We're staying in uncomfortability. We're staying in a little bit of chaos. And that is good because chaos is where we seek growth because we don't naturally, at least me, I don't want to be in a constant state of chaos. I don't want to be in chaos. I also don't want to be completely complacent in an orderly fashion because that's boring and I don't like it and that sucks.
Yes.
So when I start to get in stagnicity, I'm like, let's get a little bit of chaos. But if I get too far into the chaos, then all of a sudden life sucks and it's spiraling and I don't know what to do. And there's a million different things coming at me. So when we have a little bit of that chaos in our life, a little bit of that discomfort, we grow immensely.
Oh, absolutely. And it the chaos needs to take it. It's such a weird like oxymoron. It needs to be constructive chaos. It needs to be something that it's like, I don't know if I'm going to be successful, but what I do know is this is beneficial.
Right. Not I am running from the cops and it's pretty chaotic.
Yeah.
We're not doing that one. Not that chaos.
That's the bad chaos. No, but it like strive for things that are beneficial. I mean, and it can be anything. Read a book. I mean, honestly,
don't you speak that blasphemy.
Read
2021.
Read a book, people. That was Wayne Brady, by the way, from Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's one of the best skits of all time.
And copyright.
Yes. No, but he, as I'm going to quote Wayne Brady again, phenomenal actor. Love Wayne Brady. But when we're talking about balance, you do have to look at some things that it's like, you may not know what you need to do. There's a lot of times people do know what they would need to do. They just choose not to do it. Mm-hmm. They know that they need to start eating better. They know that they need to maybe go for more of a walk. They know they need to turn the TV off. They know they need to go and reapply for a different job. They know. There's other things that they're not sure about, that they aren't, I don't know if I can do that or not. Read. Start looking, start researching. And let me be really clear when I say start researching, because It frustrates me to no end. Okay. If you're going to look for, maybe you want to get in a specific field, and I say to you something akin to, okay, let's go ahead and research it. I don't mean to just type in the name of that in Google and read the first article and then be like, I researched it. Like, no, you didn't. Like, actually look at it. Look at what it's going to take. Look at how many, we have a practice in recovery coaching where it's like, if you're going to have a goal that's set out and you're going to accomplish a goal this next week towards something, barring you accomplish that goal, you should be able to answer any question that I have about it because you accomplished it, which means you know how to do it. What did it entail? How did it go? Who did you talk to? What did they say? Yada, 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 yada. If I'm saying research something and then I talk to you and be like, okay, how much is it going to cost? I don't know. You didn't research it then. How long is it going to take? I don't know. You didn't research it then. Like, you need to know some things intimately before you take some of these bigger goals on.
All right, it's where we start talking about the steps, right? We start talking about barriers, things like that. You have to actually, I would say we all know the goals, we know what we need to be doing, but we don't know the steps in order to do that thing. And that's when we're talking about research, is like, really, what are the steps?
Because that is the first step.
Right.
It's research,
Yeah.
research.
Like, we'll take, for instance, my goal is to go back to college. Okay, what do you need to do? I don't know. Okay, research it. So, okay, so I need to go and I need to fill out a FAFSA, which means I need my tax information from last year in order to fill out the FAFSA. And then I got to go and I got to go talk to student advisors and I got to go talk to the financial advisors and figure out how to do all, just like there's a process.
And on and on and on and on and on.
Right. So now we have steps. Now we have a goal. And I'd say that's true for even small goals, man. Like, if we're, like you said, like, we know what to do. We need to turn off the TV. How are you going to do that? Because quite frankly, I know for me, I suck at self-discipline. I would say that that's probably true for a lot of people. I don't know, but I would say, like, in cognitive dissonance, I say, like, I'm not gonna watch TV tomorrow. I'm gonna watch a lot less TV, and then I get
I'm gonna drink more water. You know what? I'm gonna only have 3 cups of coffee. Yep.
Yeah. So then the next day I get off work and I justify it to myself. I say, okay, I'm gonna watch TV. So it's a matter.
Such a long day, and I
Right.
saw the good stuff's on tonight. So
You kind of sound like Trump there.
like Trump there a little bit.
A little bit. That was a good impersonation.
Yeah.
But it's like, exactly, I can justify it, but what are the tangible steps I need to take in order to make sure that I cut down on my TV watching? Like, really, what are the steps that I need to do? And it sounds so trivial, sounds so stupid, but really, what do I need to do in order to do that? Just like I said, I want to start exercising. I've said that for so long. I would
say that for a very long time.
Right. Like, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start working out Monday, next year, next week.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Next year.
But no, I mean, really,
next month.
so I knew what I needed to do, but I didn't know the steps in order to do it, because I would say that and then I would get off and then I'd be like, oh, I don't want to exercise. So what did I do? I figured out, what do I need to do? I need to wake up an hour earlier than I usually do. And then I need to exercise then, because I'm motivated in the morning and that's easier for me. So I figured out for me what's going to work. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to go buy an exercise bike. I bought an exercise bike. So now I use that in the mornings, and then I'm buying other equipment. I'm starting small. I'm adding things. But I mean, something like that, it takes steps. You know what I'm saying? I found the steps I needed to take and I'm walking those out slowly. And all of a sudden, this big thing became something very small and attainable because I'm looking at it.
Yep.
And and I think all this has to do with balance somehow. I don't know, but balance
somewhere around. I'm getting a balance somewhere.
Just don't know where yet. So I guess now we're talking a little bit about the completion of goals that leads towards balance, but that's really it, man. When we're looking at our life and we're going to add these things, it's just like, what do I need to do to actually make this happen? Because it's not going to do it itself. If there's a problem, if we've been trying the same thing over and over and over again, expect different results. Once again, we all know it's insanity. We've done it in our addictions, we've done it in our lives, and we do it to ourselves all the time, because we think if we keep saying, I'm going to do it then, we all know we're not going to do it then. Okay, let's be real with ourselves, So what am I going to do? What are the tangible steps? What am I going to do differently to make sure that this actually takes place? And that, I think that's the answer to, like, how do we find these goals? How do we actually complete something? That's why we use a science-based model known as a plan A. It goes by a lot of names. I don't know what's called.
I mean, the recovery plan, the plan A, the recovery plan or plan A, it's just a life plan. That's all it is. For all of the medical modeling and science that goes behind it, the truth be known is, like, it just comes down to goal setting and accountability. You'll get where you need to go. And
steps.
If that's important, though, is you need some steps. So you need approachable steps that you can break down. And here's the thing. It's really important, at least early on, that you have somebody in your life that knows how to make step-based goals, because oftentimes what I have seen is people make step-based goals, but they don't realize that that first step is really like 30 steps, where it's this massive, like, good Lord, you know, that, so they think that I'm going to get it done in one day. And it's like, you are not going to get it done in the next month. Like this has a lot more things to it, you know, and being able to sit down with somebody that can help you explore that and at least train you. Cause here's the thing. We work with a lot of recoveries that come to us a couple times and then they don't come to us anymore. And then fast forward a year, we see them again and they're doing fine. They're doing really well. They learned an applicable skill. They've started utilizing the skill and doing a really good job. Met a lot of recoveries, don't do so well, you know, and it's just, once again, balance. Like we can teach you the skills that you need to have, but unless you're willing to walk them out, and, you know, a lot of times a recovery coach, it's, you know, it's in the name, we are coaches, but even more than that, we are individuals that it's like, we will help you train in an isolated area. We'll help you train your mind, train your thought process, train some of these skills up so that when you go out into the real world and try to start applying them, you're a lot more successful because you've actually done it in this incubation tank versus trying it out for the first time by yourself, going to, I don't know, the VOA to try to get your insurance turned back on or something like that. So it's, when we're looking at goal setting, when we're looking at balance, try to make sure that you have somebody at least early on that's going to hold you accountable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Accountability, I would say, is probably, when we're talking about goal setting, that's something we really harp on in recovery coaching. I love our academies because it's always, it catches people off guard, but it's like, what's your goal? What are the steps? When are you going to take that first step? Who are you going to call to ask you or hold you accountable to take that first step? Okay, what time could you talk to them? And they're like, oh, you know, today at 4. And you're like, all right, I'm going to call you today at 4:15 or whatever, you know, and like make sure you've made contact with that person.
Well, and they don't know what to do with that. And I mean, here's the thing. In our academies, we have a very short amount of time to show them how we do it. So when we show them how we do it, we go for the no hold bars. Like we are so direct.
15 minutes into 30 seconds. All
and I mean, a lot of people are uncomfortable with that because all of a sudden they feel like, oh my God, what's happening right now? Like, oh, whoa. And it's like, no. And we've had people complain about that say like, I didn't like that. That felt really abrasive. Then it's like, well, we wouldn't normally do it that way. We would do it, but it's like, ultimately that's what you're trying to get accomplished. We're showing you that what you're going to eventually get accomplished in about 15 to 20 minutes, you can theoretically get accomplished in about a minute and a half if you know the right questions. But you want to be nice. You want to be a human being. But no, it does come down to, what do you want to do? Why? Make an argument.
And that's why robots will take over our job, because they're far more efficient.
It's just a lot of whys. Identify the goal, drill down to the goal, then create, you know, say, when are you going to do it? Then create accountability.
So this is going to be my message out there. If there's somebody listening to this in your early recovery, because that's what this podcast is for, people in recovery. So when you're looking at like your life, when you're looking at what you want to accomplish, get really real with yourself. Write the goal down. Okay, so whatever that goal is, I don't care what it is. Write it down. Figure out what the process is to get to that goal. Write down that entire process. And then find somebody, be like, hey, man, I really find a trusted individual, not someone who's going to co-sign your BS.
Yes, that's so big.
We do that to ourselves good enough. You know, if we need somebody who's going to be like, oh, you didn't complete your goal. Why didn't you complete your goal? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do to make sure you do it now? What's going to be different?
Well, unpopular opinion. Who's usually, let me see if you remember this, what I've taught you on this. Who's usually the first person to co-sign our BS besides ourselves?
Ourselves.
There you go. No, we
wrong answer.
Well, we often, when we're meeting with our recoveries, we ask them, who's your accountability going to be? And the first person they say is my husband, my wife,
significant others.
And what do we say?
No.
We're like, no. And they go, why? And like, there's nobody in your life other than yourself and this individual that'll co-sign you more. Like the reality is, usually when we're trying to accomplish a goal, when we have a loved one or another, we're like, I got to work out. And then, you know, my wife is looking like, you know, what sounds better than working out? What? A pizza. And I'm like, you're right. Yeah, you're totally right. That sounds way better than working out. So having somebody in your life that isn't that directly connected is important. Here's the other part too. You may be the person, and I've had this only really happen twice, but you may be the person that continually goes down the path and says like, I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. It's like, so just to be clear, you're living by yourself. You don't have anybody. There's not a sponsor. There's nobody in your life. Okay, then I'll be that person in your life until we can find that person.
And crucial point for any professionals, until you can find that person. that is literally like, we want to be their accountability. Like, I mean,
We're talking about a few weeks. We're not talking about a few months.
exactly. And there's a difference between being accountability and maybe shooting a text to a client being like, hey, did you complete your goals this week? And they're like, yeah, I did good. And that's fine.
Yep.
But accountability wise, it's a little bit more stringent. But go ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, when you have getting to that point, though, it's you want that individual to find the person that they're going to be accountable to as quickly as possible. Because if they're not looking for somebody and they're just going to say continually, but no, you're my person, there's something else going on there. Right. And I'm not saying it's like lascivious. I'm not saying that they want to be, they want you to be their boyfriend or anything like that. Right. But I am saying that the individual is trying to get out of something, or they're running away from something, or maybe they're not ready.
They're forming codependence.
They're forming codependence, and that can be that codependence is one of the most dangerous weapons a case manager or anybody in the human services field can combat, because codependence can lead to anything. Right. It can lead to violence towards, it can lead for the individual to become violent towards themselves or other people. It can lead to violence towards you. It can lead to entire things being crashing down. It can lead to levels of manipulation. It can lead to, in some parts, it can lead to illegal acts perpetrated not only by the individual, but possibly by the person serving in the human service field, which, not making it up, we've had people that worked for us that check that box that they did something illegal. I mean, because they were codependent.
So I want to hit back on that original thing I was hitting on. So balance. But no, for the recovery there. So when you set that goal, you find the accountability. It's not only important to find that accountability, but the other piece of that is we have to set a time for the first step to be completed.
Yes.
And that is just massively important. So like, and the beautiful thing about that is it really does make the goal easier. So I say, okay, if my first step is this, and I'll get that done in a week, because that's an easy step. And then we get that done. And then it's like, okay, so now I can set a goal for the next one. And then all of a sudden, before we know it, we're just slowly climbing up this ladder to our original goal. So we need accountability. We need to find a deadline, have somebody be that accountability piece, and then just start walking after it,
And that's exactly it's just incremental. One of the things that I love doing with recovery is once we get about 3 months into the recovery coaching relationship, just taking a second to say, like, let's take a look back at what we've accomplished. And it's like, wow. And it happens sometimes, not often, but sometimes you get a recovery that it's like within the first 2 sessions, they're like, I've been trying to get this accomplished for a year, and we've done it in 2 sessions or a session. What's that about? But to look 3 months or 3 months on, to look 3 months back and say, look what we've accomplished. And there's like, man, 3 months ago, I didn't have a place to live. I now have a place to live. 3 months ago, I didn't have any job prospects. I now have a job, with a pension. Like, it can be a whole lot of things that end up popping up. And that's the most gratifying thing for me. I love when that happens, to see like, this is a very physical and measurable change that's happened in this individual's life. And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. It's just a step by step. Exactly. And then it's like step by step. And then all of a sudden we look back and we're like, whoa, that was cool. It's like all this change automatically happens. It's the same with decline we see with incline, right? So there's these slow incremental changes that we're not really noticing, but everyone else is noticing, good or bad. And then all of a sudden we look back at it and we're like, oh, look how far away I am, And it's cool. It's a really cool experience. And then what really blows my mind is when the client's like, man, thank you so much for everything you've done. And you're like,
what did I do?
Right?
Yeah. What did I even do?
I just gave you a phone number one time. That was it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you ran with it. But that's it. Sometimes it helps when you have kind of that person that's steering the ship, recovery coaches. Once again, it's in the name. We're all about recovery, but we're about coaching. I don't play the game, but I'll tell you what the plays are for the game. I'll tell you how to make sure that you get the touchdown. I'll tell you, I'll mark out the different plays to get a couple more yards. Like, that's what a coach does, is somebody that lays out the schematics for you to be successful. And that's what we do. I mean, that's my favorite part of my job, is to be able to sit somebody down, to draw out an entire list of what do we want to do in the next couple of years, and then I've had guys that, they have more education than me now. We start off in one place. I've been doing it long enough that
doesn't take much.
No, but we've been, it's I'm fortunate enough to have been in this field for long enough that I can see situations like that where guys, they started at a place where maybe they didn't have as much education as me. And now that they have a graduate degree, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. And just to know that I even had a little bit of a part in somebody's life like that, that's where I get my fulfillment out. That's where I'm just like, that's amazing. Yeah. How could I not be excited and proud and happy about that result?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes the job worthwhile,
One last thing I will say about balance before we wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah, about balance.
Balance.
one of the things with balance is it is unique to the individual.
Mhm.
I have too often times have seen loved ones and significant others try to force a balance in a recovery's life, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm going to say it right now. There's not a box that can be cut where that works. It just doesn't.
Mhm.
When you try to force the recovery, they need to go to therapy. They need to go to this, because that's the balance that they need. Because if they don't do that, they're going to use drugs. And it's just like, guess what? They could do all of those things and still use drugs. The balance needs to be found in the individual. That individual needs to find a place where they're comfortable. A lot of times, especially if you have a younger recovery and they've been using a lot and their family is deeply ingrained in this person's life, a lot of times, guess what? The individual probably has some significant trauma in their life that needs to be hashed out. Maybe a therapist is a good idea, while at the same time recognizing like maybe getting a job right now isn't the best plan.
Right.
Maybe they need to go to therapy for a while, and they need to maybe go to 1 or 2 meetings a week. And then maybe a couple months down the line, they can talk about a job. Maybe that's the good plan. Instead of saying balance, they can go to therapy and get a job, because as long as they do that, they won't be out there using. You could be trying too much too soon.
Far cry from the truth. Yeah. I will say that's true. I think not just for the early recovery and family members, but really like anybody in recovery or anybody in life, really. Christian's balance doesn't work for me. Some people's balance is literally,
my balance doesn't work for me. So
yeah. We agree on something there. Yeah. But I mean, it's like some people's life is like, they want to go to work. They have a family, they come home, they hang out with their family, they watch TV, and like, that's their balance, and that works for them. Some other people, that doesn't work for them. So it's like a matter of everybody's situation is a little different. I like to say, I've said a few times, like the garden variety addict, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not all that unique. We're unique, but we're not all that special, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it again. We're unique, but we're not all that special. Sorry. But I mean, really, like, we all
hurt some people out there today.
I know. I definitely just got some like subliminal red flags.
Negative reviews, dude.
Yeah, sorry. But I mean, really,
I'm going to go to Yelp. I'm going to leave the worst review. Oh my, I'm going to give you a half star.
So, I mean, but really, like, we all strive for that uniqueness, right? We're not about uniformity here. We want to have like a commonalities, but we're all different in our own way. We all have our own thing we want to find in our life, and we all have that balance that fits for us. So figure out what that is. And that's harder. To be honest, I wish somebody could have came and told me, this is the balance that you need to implement in your life, and you will be successful and happy.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah. People have done that. It's not true. People have told me what my balance should be.
You can figure out what the perfect balance is. You will become the most important person alive.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah. It is like, that's just a reality of it. It'd be easier, but it's not reality.
Deepak Chopra. Or the next Oprah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but you definitely become something important. Like,
right.
Good golly. Yeah. And I think balance, all in all, just like you said, it's unique to each and every individual. With that being said, if you're not striving for something, then are you really living?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody may have heard that right now, and that could have been the line that they don't know what to do with.
Right.
It's like, if you're waking up each day and nothing's changing, and you feel like you're stuck in a rut, there's nothing going for you, then it's like you have one or two options. You can continue in this lane, which, yeah, you could do that. And I don't know what your life's going to look like a couple years from now if you continue to do that, probably exactly like it does now, if not worse. Or you can truly steal your heart and say, I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna try something new.
Right. And it doesn't matter if it's spiritual growth, great. If it's growth in yourself, great. If it's growth in the outside, progressing in job, school, education, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever that growth is, awesome. But there has to be something.
It has to be something, because it can't be nothing. Gotta be something.
Yeah. And I think with that, we have come to the end of our podcast.
I believe so. Yeah.
Just remember out there, you are unique, but you're not special.
Unique. Yeah. Just remember, you're unique. You're not special. Now,
just kidding.
Speaking about special, for those of you who are listening, big news. So this next Friday, so 2 days from now, 2 days from now, we are going to be having the executive director of Connecticut Community on Addiction Recovery, Phil Valentine, is coming in to do the interview. We hope that you join us. He is just an absolute juggernaut. He is kind of forefront of the recovery movement. This guy's voice, it echoes around the world. He is such an intricate and important part to the recovery fabric. And here's the thing, couldn't be more humble, couldn't be more the nicest guy you've ever met. Such a cool guy. So happy we got to interview him. So happy that he gave time out of his extraordinarily busy schedule to speak to little old us. But with that being said, we will see you hopefully Friday, if not next Monday or Wednesday. Have a good one.